the story of my life is not about what a creepy man did to me once. I have a whole career. I have written 3 books. I'm writing my 4th. One's in, you know what I mean? Like, I have done the work and I'm proud of it. And that's the stuff, that I want to talk about. And I don't want to continually have women's stories be about the things that a man did to them one time.
Yeah.
Or multiple times, because we're more than that. And so I think that's one of the things that really makes me empathize with the survivors is they're professional sexual assault survivors now of Epstein, right?
The Epstein files are a who's who of shitty men escaping accountability for near decades of abuse of women.
They name politicians like Donald Trump and Bill Clinton, royals like the prince formerly known as Prince Andrew, tech billionaires like Bill Gates, and even people in our industry, the media. But the Epstein scandal isn't just about elites. It's the story of a long trail of women whose lives have been shattered by shitty men.
So, Christine, who are we canceling today?
The aforementioned shitty men, Kate.
Yeah. What happens when the media, who is supposed to keep these shitty men accountable, are actually playing along with those shitty men? Hey everyone, I'm Katelyn Burns.
And I'm Christine Grimaldi.
And you're listening to Cancel Me Daddy,
the show where we take a closer look at all the panic around cancel culture.
With thoughtful analysis.
And verbal shitposting.
I just wanted to say up front that this episode deals with some very heavy issues around sexual assault, sexual harassment, and things like that. So if you're sensitive to those issues, this is your forewarning. Christine.
How you doing, Kate?
We're at it again.
Talking about shitty men.
I mean, that's a constant theme of this podcast, but specifically we're talking about Epstein again. Now, I know we've done Epstein episodes before. We had Ken Klippenstein on last year to talk about the potential political fallout of the sort of Epstein saga. And I thought he actually had a very important course correction for us because we were thinking all about the politics of it all. And he redirected it back to the victims. And as this has gone on, this story is not going away. Pam Bondi testified before Congress. There was that very powerful picture of the Epstein survivors standing behind her with their hands raised, and Bondi wouldn't even look at them. We have the Clintons are giving depositions next week. By the time this episode is out, I think the Clintons will be finished with their depositions, although they won't be public. So I'll be interested to see what revelations we have from that. Yesterday, the day before recording, Prince Andrew was arrested. The person formerly known as Prince Andrew, he's just Andrew now. Mountbatten Windsor. What a stupid fucking name, by the way.
He's just some guy now.
Mountbatten.
Mountbatten Windsor.
Go back to Coburg Battenberg, which is what their original name was. They're fucking German family.
Oh my god, you would know that. That's incredible.
I would know that.
Yeah.
I have played as their ancestors in Europa Universalis, okay? The story is not going away. We had some revelations over the last couple of weeks about some of our friends in media, particularly with Shitty Media Men List, which we referenced in our episode with Parker a couple of weeks ago. We talked about some of the fallout of it that sort of globbed onto the Harper's letter, which that episode was a retrospective of. And we found out that some of the men involved with the Shitty Media Men List were in contact with Epstein.
Yeah, they sought his counsel about how to push back against the MeToo movement.
Through Michael Wolff, by the way, who we also have a video about. That link will be in the description. Who seemed to be serving as Epstein's fixer. Or a go-between between media/writing guys and Epstein.
Almost like a MeToo conciliere.
So we wanted to do this again, and we really wanted to center the victims in all of this. And I think that this episode is very powerful. It's a slow burn, give it time. But I think that this interview has changed me as a person. We have the amazing Lyz Lenz on as our guest, and she's incredible. She has an amazing podcast that all of you should go listen to. If you're a fan of this show, you will be a fan of her show. I think we just jump right into it.
Mm-hmm.
Lyz, welcome to Cancel Me Daddy.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is something we've been trying to get to happen for so long.
Mm-hmm.
For so long, and it's finally happening.
Friend of the pod.
The collab that no one on the internet was waiting for, except for us.
I'm just going to say this right up front, that I think everybody who likes Cancel Me Daddy should also go and listen to your podcast, Dingus of the Week, because there's such synergy there. Like,
Yeah.
You do topics, and I'm like, oh, I wish we had done that this week. What the heck?
Yeah, the Venn diagram between those who are canceled and the dinguses, the
Yes.
dingai, if you will.
The dingus.
Yeah.
Is there a plural of dingus?
So it's a made-up word with a Germanic root, but people get really pedantic about it, where they'll be like, if I do dingus, sometimes I think just like phonetically, dinguses sounds better in a sentence. So I do whatever I want to do with it, because once again, it is a made-up word. But like people will get really pedantic. They'll be like, I'm pretty sure plural is dingai, because that's Latin. And like, listen, I studied Latin for 3 years. Nobody's more annoying about Latin than me. But I am like, calm down. Also, like, it's not a Latin word. It has like Germanic roots. So it's like, just because it has the US ending doesn't necessarily connotate like Latin, and we can do whatever we want. Also, does nobody have any fun anymore? You know?
No.
Like, just why are we fighting over? No, but as you can tell, it is a thing that happens to me a lot, where I'll like write a big newsletter and somebody, the first comment is like, well, actually, and you're like,
if somebody goes down on a dingus, is it dingus lingus?
Ooh.
Ew.
I'm sorry.
They don't deserve that. They don't deserve that.
Totally inappropriate joke considering our topic today.
Yeah, we are going back into the Epstein files. We had one podcast episode about that, about how we thought that and hoped that this would be what would turn MAGA against Donald Trump. That does not seem to be the case as of yet.
No.
He
seems to be getting out of it, actually. I wanted to talk about this because, like, Prince Andrew got arrested. And then I think somebody else in like another European country, forgive me, I don't have it off the top of my head, it was like Sweden or the Netherlands, also stepped down because of his interactions with Epstein himself. And I'm watching all of these other countries, like Brazil locked up Bolsonaro, like South Korea just sentenced their former president to life in prison. And I'm looking at all these countries and I'm like, Lord, I've seen what you've done for others.
Yes. You're like, consequences in this economy. Like, who knew that was a thing?
Under this system of capitalism.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when we talk to other countries, then we're like, oh yeah, and we have a medical bill, and they're like, what's that? And you're like, oh no, you can live another way. And like, it's the same thing with consequences. Like, we don't get them here in America, but you know, they get them over there.
Explaining a deductible to a European.
The European mind could not comprehend. I really love to read Swedish crime thrillers. It's like my little hobby. And one of my favorite things about it is like when they're like describing like a domestic partnership, because they're not married, you know, because it's Sweden and they're also enlightened. They'll be like, oh yes, well, he identifies as a feminist, and like, and then he didn't, you know, and like she kept her last name, and then they were on the social security benefits, and I'm like, this sounds like heaven. Like, this sounds so nice. Like, it's like, that's why I read it, because it's like fantasy wish fulfillment or something. Yeah. But they're still bitches to the Polish, even in the books. So no place is perfect.
There's a deep historical basis for that hatred, I feel like.
Yeah, you know, it's the European mind never forgets. They won't forget the Habsburg Empire, and neither should we.
Don't make me bring up Gustavus Adolphus, okay?
You want to talk the Reformation? Let's go.
Yeah.
No, that was a different episode we did, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, you already. Wow.
We really need to send you our Catholic episode where we poped out Pope Cancellus the First, and I was the cardinal.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That was our first
Wow.
YouTube episode, and it's actually embarrassing to go back and look at it now, how bad the editing was.
Yet incredible.
So, Lyz, the goddamn Epstein files.
Yeah.
Like, it's clear the story is not going away, no matter how much Trump wishes for it. I think I saw a poll the other day that like 50% of the public believes that Trump did some sort of wrongdoing connected with Epstein. I wanted to sort of get your thoughts on the scandal. I don't know. Is it a scandal? Like what? Like just your thoughts on this whole thing overall, and like, do you think that we will see anybody in the U.S. side of things face consequences?
I mean, I don't think it's going to be a reckoning. The couple things with like the Epstein files story is that it's been going on for so long. Epstein was convicted back in 2008, I believe, right? And this has been like kind of like simmering. I don't think most Americans have locked in and paid attention to it, but like, to kind of like suss out all the strands. So that's what's new is happening. But like this has been going on for a really long time. Like the stuff that's coming out in the files like has been known. Melinda Gates divorced Bill and in an interview brought up Epstein, like to say this is like one of the things that is sus about my relationship. And of course she did it in that like very Melinda Gatesy way. And I'm sure they've got NDAs or whatever, but like this has been going on for so long. And I think like at this point, it's really complex. It's a complex issue that's been going on a long time. And like with the Russiagate stuff, I've never really thought it was going to trip Trump up because like what is happening too in among his base is like they can just claim ignorance and they do. And there was another poll that was talking about, do people agree with what Trump is doing on immigration? And more people are just like, I don't know. I haven't been paying attention. I don't know. And I see that in the MAGA people in my own life, who just are just like, who? I don't know her. Epstein? I don't know this man. And I think it is like complex enough of a story that if the Republicans can kind of like kick the can down the road. I mean, Bard is investigating their president right now. I think there's going to be some, a lot of, there have been some like high profile men in business stepping down, quietly stepping back, stepping away. But like, that's not a consequence. Like, I'm sorry, you're just going to go like, on a vacation in one of your homes for a while. Like that's not a fucking consequence. And I also don't think like whatever happens with Prince Andrew, like what is so nice to like imagine that monster being taken away in handcuffs. I just, just like that reality is just, live wish fulfillment. So,
well, and he still wasn't arrested for sexual abuse.
Right. And like, but that's the other thing about the Prince Andrew thing is Virginia Roberts Giuffre like tried to like take him down for years. This has been going on for years. And like she sued him in civil court and they had an out of case settlement or like out of court settlement. And based upon the book, it's, seems very clearly she wasn't allowed to talk about the deal behind that. But like, as with most settlements, but it's just like, this is known and this has been known. And at some point it's just a miscarriage of justice that it's been continually been ignored. And and like the real people who are behind this are just, going to stay silent and pretend ignorance. And and then our children are going to look back on this and be like, what in the fuck? Like I'm sorry. I have like a real pessimistic take, but like living through the whole Me Too stuff and seeing, and seeing that happen and that unfold and literally how quickly that backlash happened and how quickly that backlash happened and was orchestrated as demonstrated by the Epstein files, like to protect men like this. It was like 1 week in and Brett Stevens was already like, Me Too has gone too far.
Yeah, what are the parallels that you see between Me Too and the Epstein files?
Well, I mean, Epstein predates Me Too in so many ways. Like, these victims have been speaking out for a long time and nobody has been listening. And that was one of the things when I was reading Nobody's Girl, the Virginia Roberts Giuffre memoir. And I know it was like a bestseller, but I was like, how many people actually read this? Like there's a difference between obviously buying a book and then like sitting down and reading it. But I was just like, this is, like Julie K. Brown has been writing this story out of Florida for literal decades now, and so I think that's a parallel with the Me Too stuff, because it was like, there was also a reckoning where people were like, yeah, these are open secrets. Like these things have been known and now we're finally seeing some justice or some sort of reckoning. And I think that's what's happening. There's a little bit of a parallel, but I don't think there's that same appetite in America for consequences and justice as there was in 2017. And I think that's because in 2017, people really thought this is going to do it, and I think now people are more like aware of how systemically fucked we are. And then it's going to take a lot more than like a hashtag or outing your abuser, one time to really dismantle these systems that protect abusers. And that system is called the American government. So aren't you guys glad you had me on for some real positive takes?
We're only laughing because that's the only way to keep from crying and screaming.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, anytime there is a push toward a consequence, that it's never wasted. But I think also I do think too, it's like, because this has been going on for so long, that you're also not seeing quite the same backlash to it right away. Like with Me Too, where it was immediately knee jerk. You had a lot of women writing takes, and I will never forget. I remember Hoomst wrote what, and I'll always remember. I've got a list. I got a notes list of like female journalists who are gonna do the full Katelyn Flanagan, and so like
oh my god.
Like most likely I'm watching you bitches, like just watch out.
It's like something out of Game of Thrones where you're like, instead of the North remembers, it's like the Lyz remembers.
The Lyz remembers. I can't remember the name of like that tiny little cute actor that everybody loves. He's dating Zendaya. No, the other one. Oh, he was Laurie?
Oh, Timothy Chalamet?
Yes.
I'm our resident celebrity D-list or correspondent.
I can never remember his name, but I'll remember what one journalist wrote in 2007 about, a book I loved. And and I'm just festering away in Iowa with all my petty resentments.
We're talking about, Epstein and comparing it with Me Too, but there was actual connections between Me Too and Epstein. And I want to dive further into this a little bit later, including, I think you have a compelling, I don't know how to say this, personal experience with something that happened in the fallout of Me Too that's also Epstein related. I don't want to get to that just yet. That's coming soon. But I think that we get distracted with Epstein, with the elites of it all. And it's like, oh, like Bill Clinton's name is in here. You mentioned Bill Gates, like Prince Andrew. Obviously, Trump is heavily connected with all of this. And I think people look at it as like, oh, this might be our chance at like justice, like getting one for the little guy. But personally, I think that the victims in all of this are kind of getting lost. And I also felt that way during Me Too, when people were speaking up. And everybody immediately jumped to the concern for, well, what about these men's careers? What if
Yes.
Louis C.K. can't do a comedy special anymore? Isn't that tragic? And it's like, well, no. The tragedy is the people that he hurt, right?
Yes.
So we might not get, quote unquote, these elite guys, because, I mean, you just argued very persuasively that we won't, but how can we get justice for the victims in all of this?
Well, I mean, I think that's a really existential question because what is justice, right? Like, as an assault survivor myself, and, I also have seen this play out on a personal level in my own family. My younger sister, and I've written about this, is an assault survivor, and her abuser was a family member, right? And I saw the way at first people were like, well, we're gonna do something. And then the way that it was like, well, how do we know what actually happened? And then how do we forgive? And how do we just pretend everything is fine and keep being a family? And so like that on a small level is like what we continually witness on a national level, with these stories and these movements. It's like initially there's that like push, and then later when people realize what that actually means, like what justice actually means, and like what it would take to protect women from these men is actually far more difficult and would tear apart systems. And you have to talk about the complicity of people who knew things and remained silent, because I mean that's the real conspiracy behind the Epstein files. It's not like, oh, these guys are sending these crazy emails. It's just like so many people knew and kept quiet and just said nothing and pretended like they didn't know. And there's no reason that that's not going to continue to happen. You're noting the connections between the two, and there's like a real one-to-one connection. And that is that, like Epstein was convicted of like sex trafficking. And then when MeToo happened, literal like men in the news were going to him and asking him for help because they saw that he had been convicted and yet was still living a life that was, he was still making money. He was still, he was still living his life. So when you say like, what does justice look like? And I don't think we're even prepared to answer that question because we don't even know what it's like to listen to women. We do not need these files. These women have been saying this for years. The thing that blew me away about the Virginia Roberts Giuffre book was like how long we have known this, like how long these women have been screaming at the top of their lungs, this is a problem, this is happening, these men are doing these things, and people have just not been listening. And it's so incredible, but it's like we don't even live in a society that can fully comprehend and grapple with like what it means to listen to a woman. So until we do that, we can't even come to terms with like what justice looks like. And I think, I think a lot of these women and a lot of victims of abuse are not like, they're not like, if he goes to jail, that will heal me. They're like, okay, I know that's a remote possibility, but I need people to listen and I want systems to be changed so that the next time a girl is in this position, she's protected or listened to. And so, I don't think justice is always, about like jail time because and honestly, again, Epstein was convicted and he still, we talk about like, oh, well, these men's careers, they're fine. Matt Lauer is fine.
He's fine. He has multi-millions of dollars.
Louis C.K. is fine. These men are
but
fine.
Matt Lauer is not at the Olympics, guys. Come on.
Oh my, me either.
I'm kidding. Please
I didn't assault anyone, and I'm also not in Italy. So
it's like, how much can we pay you after you assaulted someone? It's almost like a reward, and it really upsets me.
Yeah, and then the number of like women too who like come in and are like, oh, it wasn't, this guy was nice to me, let's make sure he gets a job, and you're just like, I'll name a man. I think we saw that a lot with Me Too. The thing that upset me the most was like with Lauren Stein, the former editor of the Paris Review, who, had these allegations against him, immediately lost his job, but then behind the scenes was given a ton of jobs and had a lot of people just being like, he's fine. Don't worry about it. And it's like, this is how that works. Geez, I mean, even Giselle Pellicott herself didn't believe her daughter when her daughter was like, I'm a victim of assault, So, like, until we know what it's like to listen to women, I don't think we can ever find justice. But I do think justice begins with like listening, because if you hear what women are actually saying, it would change the world.
I'd be remiss if I didn't note too that one of Epstein's earliest accusers was a trans woman who, like, the courts ruled was insane, actually. And this poor woman got dragged so hard by like the New York Post and like the existing media apparatus. And I just think like, how much pain could we have prevented if we had just listened to this trans woman? I mean, and she wasn't the only person accusing
Right.
Epstein at the time.
Right.
So I'm not saying like, oh, everybody ignored this one person and then everything else happened. It was like, it was another person that we could have listened to, also happened to be trans. And then, by the way, there's a ton of emails of Epstein being like, how can we restrict the rights of these trans people? And turns out that one of New York City's top gender affirming surgeons is in the Epstein files 900 times. And that's fun. I wrote about this recently as well, but it also reminded me of Me Too with like Jeffrey Tambor. I don't know if you remember this, but
Yeah.
he was accused by several trans women on the Transparent set of inappropriate conduct and sexual harassment, and he was let go from the show. But he didn't, outside of being let go from that one show, he didn't really face like consequences until one of his co-stars, who was a cis woman, said something about how he abused her. And then all of a sudden he got run out of Hollywood. So I wouldn't be doing my job as like a trans journalist if I didn't at least mention this and all of that. But like, to me, the two are related. Like, these aren't like Me Too and Epstein are the same problem. It's men who have the power and influence to get out from consequences of abusing women in whatever way, and it doesn't have to be trafficking. It runs the gamut. That whole monologue was meant to lead up to I wanted to bring up the shitty media men list.
Let's go.
And I think Christine has a better recollection of all of this than I do. So Christine, if it's okay with you, I want to toss it to you
Yes.
to like tell our listeners, like, first of all, what was the shitty media men list, and give us like a TLDR of like the drama that happened around it, or like the
Sure.
fallout from it.
So let's go back to October 2017.
Oh God, do we have to?
Yeah, I know. That was, I mean, aren't we there again? Because we're in another Trump administration. So
Christ.
only it's worse. Yeah. And so a Google spreadsheet called the Shitty Media Men list began circulating online, and it anonymously crowdsourced Me Too allegations. And you had sexual harassment, sexual assault. It really ran the gamut. And it was all men in the media industry, people who are, supposed to hold other people accountable, because that's clearly like all we had, right? And so in January 2018, a couple months later, writer and friend of the pod, Moira Donegan, revealed that she began the list because Harper's Magazine was preparing at the time to out her as its creator. I think that's the TLDR of it. She was later sued by a writer named Stephen Elliott, who was the founder of The Rumpus, which is a very great online literary magazine that he no longer has any affiliation with. And I think she settled with him with a 6-figure settlement.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in here too and mention that for our listeners, if you heard our episode a couple weeks ago with Parker Malloy, we brought up some of this stuff with the fallout from the shitty media men list, particularly the Harper's fallout because they wrote the story and it turns out that the publisher ended up firing like the lead editor for the publication because he objected to publishing this story, even though he went ahead and worked on it anyway. So if some of this sounds familiar to our listeners, that's why.
Flashing back to just a couple of minutes ago when we were talking about Lauren Stein, who is a former editor of the Paris Review, who was ousted rather, over the allegations against him. So he appears in the Epstein files in relation to Stephen Elliott. Stephen Elliott contacted Lauren Stein to ask him, hey, how can I sue Moira, the creator of the Shitty Media Men list? And so Lauren reached out to Trump biographer Michael Wolff, and then Michael Wolff, right? It's just like
we have a video about him too.
I know, it's like a
dominoes of dinguses. Dominoes of dinguses.
Dominoes of dinguses.
You just tip one and they all topple over.
Well, Michael Wolff tipped right into Jeffrey Epstein and said, how can we handle this situation?
And then 6 weeks later, the lawsuit against Moira was filed.
Yeah.
Correct.
Lyz, I'm dying to know.
Yes.
What was your reaction to learning that Epstein was like all of this stuff was in the Epstein files?
I have been trying to live right with the Lord, by which I mean stay off the internet a little bit while I'm writing and I'm working on another book. And so I had gotten like a message in my unhinged signal chat that I have with other journalists. And they were like, oh my God, Lyz, Stephen Elliott's in the Epstein files. You need to go look. And I was like, oh my God. And then of course, the first thing I do is text him Moira. But I guess the news had come out 4 hours earlier, who was like, yeah, girl, I know. And I was like, okay, I guess I better log on to Blue Sky and catch up on the discourse. But I mean, so here's a little bit of my background is I ran the Rumfest for a while, and me and this editor, Marissa Siegel, she doesn't work there anymore. She had been managing editor. And then when she had the opportunity to take over the website, she did. And she took it over from Stephen Elliott. And then I became managing editor under her. And what we quickly learned was we would be cleaning up this man's messes. I mean, we just behind the scenes, we had people emailing us being like, do you know he did this or he said this or, a lot of things that I'm being vague, but I just really can't tell, other people's business on here without their permission. And especially against somebody so litigious as Stephen Elliott. But I had then had my own experience being sexually harassed by Stephen Elliott when at this literary conference, AWP, we had gone and, that's where magazines and creative writers and creative writing programs go to kind of mix, mingle, and get really drunk together and just let all their anxieties out. And so I had gone and I was selling merch for the Rumfest. And I was supposed to give Stephen Elliott. There were 2 instances where he came over to the table and he was like, you should come watch. He made a documentary about a movie that was made about one of his books. And he was like, come to my room and see the documentary. And I was like, immediately, I don't feel comfortable going up to a strange man's hotel room. And at that time, I was a married mother of 2. And the last thing I want to do is go sit in a man's hotel room. You know what I mean? I'm sitting alone. And so I had kept saying no and kept saying no. And it got to the point where it was so uncomfortable that every time he started walking towards the table, somebody would alert me and I'd crawl under the table and hide. He even threw a little hissy fit because he was like, he told Marissa, he was like, Lyz isn't being nice to me. I'm not going to come. We had a reading plan. I'm not going to come to the reading because Lyz is being uptight. And then later afterwards, so that was really uncomfortable and awful. And then after when, I was giving him the cash from all the sales because Marissa hadn't bought the magazine yet. I had women pants, which means no pockets. And so I'd put the money in my back pocket. I was walking up and I was like, oh, hey, all this cash is in my pocket. Let me get it out. And then he reached in and grabbed it out too while copying a feel at the same time. And I was like, and I literally my response was like that. And there was another editor who was a man who was there too. And he witnessed the whole thing. And I had brought him along because I was like, this man is so creepy to me. Please come with me. And I'll just say this later, when I like publicly said that he was a creep to me, and all like these writers wanted to write about it and nobody believed me. I was like, oh, well, this guy was there. And I asked him, I was like, can you just like back me up? And he was like, I don't know if I want to get involved in your mess. Your mess.
What?
Yeah. I went and fact checked that just to like check my emails. And yeah. And I was like, because that's how people see it. Right? Like when a woman gets assaulted, that is her mess. It's not a thing. They'll be like, why did you hang out with that man in the first place? Like people will do anything but blame a man for his own actions. And so that I had that experience with Stephen Elliott, and that had happened like, I would say 2015, 2016. And then we took over the magazine, and then MeToo happened. And then the shitty media men list came out, and I did not add anything to the shitty media men list, although I didn't have to because it was all filled out when I got there. If I had, I would admit it. I saw that on, and I immediately, when that was happening, he was tweeting, I'm being falsely accused. And I went on Twitter too. And I was like, listen, I don't know anything about, he was also accused of rape. I was like, I don't know anything about those rape allegations, but I'll tell you what Stephen Elliott did to me. And I became the only woman who publicly put her name and her face behind an allegation against Stephen Elliott. And then what happened is, again, it's like a Venn diagram of dinguses, because then Bari Weiss wrote a column about it in the New York Times, never reached out to me for comment.
Frequently mentioned on this podcast.
This is, I think,
misspelled my name. I'm sorry, but like, this is all that happened. And then it became this thing where like, I was not involved in the lawsuit, but I became very aware of what was happening because some of Stephen Elliott's other victims came to me and told me what he did. And I know why he eventually settled with Moira is because, one of his victims stepped forward in a way where she was talking with lawyers. And I know that was at least one of the factors. But that experience was, once again, just another experience where I said something that happened to me. It was well documented. There was a man there. I wrote about it in text messages to my friends afterwards. I wrote an email afterwards, describing it to another writer, like all are time stamped. But immediately it was just like, this woman is making it up. Or his thing was like, she misunderstood. She just misunderstood. No, I didn't misunderstand anything. And, it never once felt sexual. It all felt like a power play. It all felt like it was all about, and I mean, talk about like people knowing before. I mean, like Claire Vaye Watkins had written a whole viral essay that began with a creepy Stephen Elliott anecdote. And so then these things are known, and then more comes out. But when I saw that he had reached out to Epstein, I knew he'd had a rich person backing him because he wouldn't have been able to afford it otherwise. Yeah, the way that men will help each other in those situations, I felt so defeated. You know what I mean? Like, and also like this story has followed me my whole career, and I've never wanted it to overshadow my own work, which is why I don't actually, you guys, you're my first on record interview about it. But like, I've always categorically refused because I'm like, I'm not publicly bloodletting in front of you just so that you can say later that I was like some hysterical bitch who misunderstood everything. Like, I know how this story goes. And then every time anybody Googles my name, this will come up. And so, I've said over and over to journalists, and I'm like, the only thing you can put on the record is that the story of my life is not about what a creepy man did to me once. I have a whole career. I have written 3 books. I'm writing my 4th. One's in, you know what I mean? Like, I have done the work and I'm proud of it. And that's the stuff, that I want to talk about. And I don't want to continually have women's stories be about the things that a man did to them one time.
Yeah.
Or multiple times, because we're more than that. And so I think that's one of the things that really makes me empathize with the survivors is they're professional sexual assault survivors now of Epstein, right? Like, they go to all these things and they do all of this, and it's just like, how like, what I know a little bit, like, and oh God, this is actually making me feel feelings, but like, I know a little bit about what that feels like. And it's just like, when do you ever get to be a person? Because you got there by some man devaluing your humanity. And now, in order to get justice, you have to have your humanity constantly questioned and devalued by the media, and then see people face no consequences. And good times. Good times. Yeah, I was not surprised, though.
I wanted to say, I actually didn't know any of this stuff about you, Liz. And this is not how I've ever associated you. But I will say, people can see I have a bookcase behind me for every episode that we do. And one of the books
Hey.
is Liz's.
Yeah.
And I actually read this one. I don't always read all the books on my shelf. And it's excellent.
No, who does? Thank you. Well, and that Stephen Elliott stuff happened to me before I had written any books, when I was like a mom in Iowa, and I couldn't get anything published for the life of me. And one of the reasons I started working for the Rumpus was I was like, well, maybe if I start reading really good essays that people are like, maybe that'll teach me and inspire me, and I can make literary connections and make literary friends. And I did all those things, but it was like, at that time, what he was doing was making it so that I knew that I was not a person. That you are not a person in this world. You're just an object. And whatever, cute little goals and dreams you have are nothing. And all these women are human beings with goals and dreams that got ruined by these men. And again, I had gone into that situation. I had been assaulted in college, and I didn't talk about it for the longest time for the same reason, because I was like, I will not let this be the only thing about me. I will, I will make it so that what these men did is a footnote in my life, and what I did is the main story. But God, I don't know if that's always the right way to be.
It's really hard if it's another burden on you.
Yeah. And it's just, but how do you balance it? And so many women have those experiences, right? I know so many. For every woman publicly talking about a situation, there are 10 more women behind the scenes whispering, and for the same reasons, that I don't talk to journalists about this. It's like, you will make this the only thing about me, and I am so much more.
I don't know what to say. This is usually where I insert a joke, but I don't feel like it's appropriate in this moment. I will say that it's been an absolute pleasure being a friend and colleague of yours. And I feel like, Liz, like our two careers have sort of paralleled each other in a lot of ways. Like, I remember, I think we went for the same job once, and we were both finalists for a job that they actually didn't end up hiring anybody for.
What job was that?
It was like Jezebel features writer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They never ended up hiring anybody for that. I did get an offer for that, though.
Yeah. I knew you got an offer. I heard through the grapevine, but
I didn't take
I wore
it.
out
And
the Acela.
I will say this. I ended up taking a job with my newspaper, my local newspaper, instead of that Jezebel job. And that Jezebel job paid more money. I mean, I would have lost either job anyway, but like, I took this job with my local newspaper and then ended up getting very publicly fired from it. So I was like, you can't win.
Yeah.
And then Jezebel collapsed. So.
Yeah, Geo Media was such a disaster.
Yeah.
But I remember that. Okay. I want to lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to feel my emotions right now. I would like to, first of all, I want to shout out your podcast again, Dingus of the Week, because I know it's new. You're getting your feet wet still with it. And I love it. And I told you before we started recording, I think I was your first YouTube viewer.
Yes.
So I wanted to I don't usually do this, but I want to specifically make a call out to our subscribers to go subscribe to Dingus of the Week wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's YouTube, Apple, Spotify, although boo to Spotify, to be honest with you. But also, having said that, I want to nominate a dingus.
Yes, let's do it. So I started this in 2020. I make a little newsletter about somebody or something in the news that's terrible. And then we crown them the dingus. And it's a fun little bit that has now taken over my life. And so, Katelyn, I'd love to hear your dingus.
So there's this mayor in Ohio. Have you heard about this?
Wesley Dingus is familiar to me. Yes.
What?
Mayor of Butler, Ohio, Wesley Dingus. But continue, Katelyn. Yes.
Yeah. First of all, the guy's name is literally Dingus. So when we were talking earlier about like the etymology of the word dingus, I was like, holy shit, I have this for later. This is going to be perfect. So he's this mayor, and he had been arrested months ago in connection with, I think, a hit and run, although I could be wrong on the specifics of that. And he was just arrested again. An unspecified family member who he lives with caught him sniffing her underwear, an underage person.
Oh.
She filmed him. It was a sting operation. Yeah.
She bought and I guess this isn't really lightening the mood, actually, now that I step back and think about it. But like the name Dingus was so perfect for this. She bought her own like webcam and caught this guy twice.
Yeah. And sent it to the police.
So I figured you had already known about this, but
so when it was August of 2025, Mayor Wesley Dingus of Butler, Ohio, which is a town of 1,000 people. Listen, I know everything about this man. I think he became mayor because like the previous mayor kind of was like, I'm tired of this and stepped down. And then I think he like ran unopposed and won like 58% of the vote. Yeah. So if you're looking for like, I don't think he campaigned because again, it's like a town of 1,000. But he, in August, he got briefly arrested for a hit and run. He hit a man with his car 4 times and claimed it was an accident. And the situation was that he believed that person to be a fleeing fugitive. It's unclear if they were. Also, even if he was, he doesn't deserve to be hit by a car 4 times. And so now he's back in the news again. Also, by the way, when that news broke and people were like tagging me in it on every single platform, I had taken my weed gummy so I could go to sleep. And I was literally, again, this is what happens. I'm like, I'll be healthy and be off the internet. And then I'll go check the internet and everybody's like, let's get back on the internet. But I was doing my taxes. I was ass deep in QuickBooks and my weed gummy started to hit. And I was like, time to log off. Let me just check the old internet real quick. And everybody was like, Wesley Dingus is a creep. And I was like, yeah. Oh my God. But I feel like this is so great because I was like, my brand is so strong that strangers on the internet, when they hear the word dingus, they're like, I'll let Lyz know about this. And it's like, thank you. But also I was like so high. And then I was like, oh crap. Now I had to add a paragraph to the newsletter about this man because I was like, if I don't, people will get mad at me. Like people will be furious. And so I added it, but like I wrote the dumbest thing and while I was high and I was like, here's a joke I made that I thought was so funny at 11 o'clock last night. I was like, Mayor Wesley Dingus, is this nominative dingus determinism? Is he the Lord of the Dings? I wrote Lord of the Dings because I was like that, like Lord of the Rings. I was like, that's so funny. And then I read it this morning and I was like, oh God, oh no. But you know what? That's the kind of work you get. That's the kind of writing people Lord of the Dings. But I was like 11 o'clock. I was weeping. I was like, that's so funny. And guess what? Hi, Lyz. It is not funny.
It's so funny.
I think it's pretty funny.
I think it's pretty funny.
It's funny that I thought it was funny, I think is the funny part. Like if somebody looked at you and was like, he's the Lord of the Dings, you'd be like, immediately no. Immediately no. A great dingus, by the way, because he's a literal dingus.
Yeah. Literally.
Also, this is like, again, nominative determinism, but like, why? Like, why is that your name?
Yeah.
It's like being a doctor and being named like malpractice, you know, like don't just figure it out. Change your name.
Yeah.
Is this a Dickens? Are we just in some sort of Dickens novel that won't end?
Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But also, like, good on the girl, by the way, for like coming up with a way to catch
her own
him.
stinging operation.
Yeah.
It is. It's a bad story in that, like, this girl who lived with this man felt threatened enough that she had to set up a motion sensor camera in her own room to catch this man. However, hell yeah. Like, get his ass, girl. Like, set it up. Good for you. I love teen girls. They're the greatest. They're so wonderful. And I said this the other day, but I was like living with a teen daughter. I have a 14-year-old. She turns 15 very soon. It is like living with a wild tiger. It's like every day you wake up and you realize that you're only alive because they have chosen not to eat you yet.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just like, every day I'm like so grateful. I'm like, thank you. Thank you for not, you know, mocking me to death. Thank you. They're so powerful.
My oldest just started driving. And the other day, she told me that she thinks that I lead an interesting life. And I was like, oh my God, I can die in happiness and fulfillment now.
Highest compliment ever.
That's such a huge compliment.
I know.
It's like when a toddler compliments you, you're like, you believe it because they mean it. Like a teen would never frivolously compliment an adult in their life. Never.
I literally Googled the other night, does my toddler hate me? So,
yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. They also, Christine, toddlers, when my daughter was that age, I literally was like, I'm raising a serial killer. I'm raising a sociopath. And I wrote a whole article where I interviewed an expert on sociopathy to find out, because I gave my toddler the sociopath test, and she scored very high as a toddler. And I interviewed him, and he said this thing where he was like, toddlers are bad at having empathy in the same way that they can't drive because their feet can't reach the pedals, because they don't have empathy centers in their brains. And if they seem like they have empathy, it's because they're mimicking it. And one of the ways you develop empathy in your brain is by like mimicking it enough so that those neurons start firing, and then it finally means something. But literally a toddler has no idea that you can experience pain until they turn like 5 or something, like that concept. Wow. So if your toddler is hypothetically like not talking about my kid from experience, but full on slapping you in the face in the middle of a restaurant when you say, maybe you can have a bite of carrot, sweetie. Yeah,
This all
that's
sounds
why.
very familiar. Yeah.
I'm just
My
letting you
mom-
know.
My mom makes fun of me because, well, she tells this story of me as around that age where she tried to get me to eat my vegetables, and I looked at her and I said, Mom, you know I don't eat green.
I don't eat green. She's like, oh, thanks for letting me know.
Lyz, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing such a personal story. I think probably the most personal story a guest has ever had on this podcast. I don't want that to get lost in all of this, but how can our listeners find your work and continue to follow you?
I have a podcast, like we've said, Dingus of the Week. You can find it wherever you find such fine podcasts as Cancel Me Daddy and no other podcasts. Definitely not The Daily. Don't listen to that one. And I have a newsletter that's being hosted on Patreon. So it's patreon.com/Lyz Lenz, LYZLENZ. And then I guess I am on all the other social media platforms, but maybe I'll be trying to touch grass. And so if you message me and I don't message you back, please assume the best. Please assume that I was eating Taco Bell while high in my bed.
Thank you for so much for joining Patreon
Thank
as a
you,
writer,
Lyz.
by the way, because that was
Mhm.
so affirming for me.
Listen, they really need to fix that CMS, but I'm not sad that I made the switch. I'm not sad I made the switch, but
Yeah,
God bless. Please update these.
Can I please embed a YouTube video?
Please. Just
That's
let me
all I
embed
want.
one little social media post.
Can I have
Just-
one divider line? Just one.
Oh my God. My kingdom for a divider line. Right?
Thank you
Like,
so much, Lyz.
thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Oh, Christine, that was a lot.
Yeah.
Really just heavy, I think. But
Yeah.
we are going to jump into out of context cancellations.
Ooh, yes.
Yes. Are you ready for this?
I'm so ready.
So, a reminder, you can submit your own out of context cancellations either in our Discord, which is currently the most popular way. You can also leave a comment on YouTube with something that you want to cancel in your own life. And then lastly, you can go to memo.fm/cancelmedaddy and leave us a voice message that we will play on the air. So, having said that, we have a few this week, including 3 voice memos, which I am super excited about.
Yeah.
People answered my call last week. So, first, from the Discord, we are canceling the Google Chrome web browser monopoly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because it's like, what else do you even use?
I mean,
But
my
it's
computer really wants me to use Microsoft Edge.
Oh, I've not heard of that one.
Oh, God. It constantly tries to force itself open on mine.
I know, but Google's a real Googleopoly.
Edge pisses me off because it will pop up every once in a while, and then you hit to close it out, and then it comes up with another thing. Are you sure you want to close? And the big, like, highlighted button is make Microsoft Edge your primary browser in your settings.
Oh, it's really trying to get you.
They're really trying to ensnare me. So I am extending this to also cancel Microsoft Edge. We are canceling waking up more exhausted than you were when you fell asleep.
Yes, that is most mornings for me.
How does that work? Do we just keep getting more and more tired
The older we get.
until we die? Is that why we die, maybe?
Oh, wow. That's some existential questioning.
We have another listener whose right eye is acting up, and there's not much they can do about it. And they're saying, cancel eyeballs.
Yeah, sometimes, when they're all scratchy, you want to
Yeah.
pop them out, but you can't.
Did you see that video with Kid Rock and RFK Jr.?
I saw
working out?
stills from it.
Yeah, that was a terrible moment to have eyes.
Truly.
Yes. We're canceling subscriptions for everything that you used to just own.
Oh, yeah. Even DVDs, Now you gotta subscribe to Netflix if you want to watch a movie or a TV show.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like, Amazon could just take away my movie library that I've bought with my own money if they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, going back to analog may not be a bad idea.
I was just watching a YouTube video before we started recording about somebody who made their own cloud server.
Oh.
And they bought a bunch of like $1 DVDs and CDs at like thrift stores and then ripped them all onto their cloud service so that they wouldn't have to have Netflix anymore.
That's genius.
Yeah. We are canceling AI moderation.
Yes.
It's just bad. It doesn't understand context.
All of the AI is bad.
You know, if I want to call myself an F slur, I shouldn't get suspended for that.
Listen, that's your journey.
But if somebody else calls me an F slur, they should get suspended for that.
Fuck yeah.
Cancel customer service calls that sound like phishing schemes.
God, that's made journalists' jobs so hard because now I have to convince people that I'm not a phishing scheme every time.
Yeah. Yeah. This is
And
why
everybody screens their calls now.
This is why I do opinion writing now.
By
the way, did you notice the Pope hat is now?
Oh, I see.
Behind
Yes.
me?
Yeah.
I had my apartment deep cleaned this week, and that's so nice. I've just been luxuriating in it.
Yeah,
although my cat shit on the kitchen floor this morning to show his displeasure. So.
Oh my god. He should be luxuriating in it too.
He was terrified when the cleaners were here. And then last one from the Discord, cancel my job for forcing me to use Claude Code, which is also an AI program.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, cancel me, Daddy. Today, I want to cancel long waits for bottom surgery.
Canceling long waits for bottom surgery.
Yes.
Cassie's great. Cassie also sent us our first audio cancellation.
Oh, thank you, Cassie.
She's a frequent poster on our Discord. Big Cassie fan over here.
And we are canceling that wait for you.
Yes. It's getting worse because all of these places are starting to close down their trans services. It's just really awful. Okay, I'm going to play the next one here from Abby.
Out of context cancellation. Listening to your manager talk about how she's using Gen AI for work in school.
Ooh. Work in school is terrible. Oh, AI, like hearing your manager say, "Oh, I'm actually not doing the work."
Yeah, how demoralizing is that?
That's terrible. I would get so mad. This is why I work for myself. Yeah. All right, and the last one. Are you ready?
Out of context cancellation. Training your last 5 managers and never getting promoted.
Oof. Abby, I'm so sorry.
You should be promoted and they should be escorted off the premises.
Yeah. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Thank you to both of these ladies, I'm assuming ladies, for using our audio cancellations, because I wasn't sure anybody was ever going to use those.
And they're really good. They're really dramatic.
No, I know.
Like, it's like dramatic readings of cancellations.
It adds a little je ne sais quoi to the cancellation process. So
yeah.
We did not have any YouTube comment cancellations this week. So that has been Out of Context Cancellations. We will be back with a new episode, as always, in 2 weeks, unless there's some emergency that we don't know about at this point. But thank you all for listening. Cancel Me Daddy is a Flytrap Media production, and today's show is made by me, Katelyn Burns, and my incredible co-host, Christine Grimaldi, and our editor, May Schultz.
Dee Peterschmidt made our theme song, and Romy Tirigo designed our graphics. Transcriptions by Heather Lengefeld. Our thumbnails are made by Sarah at bursty.com. That's BURSSTY.com. Ads by Multitude Productions.
Our show is made possible by the incredible cancelers supporting our work, especially the members of our Canceler Hall of Fame, with great power to cancel all of their enemies. Meg.
We appreciate your support.
Happy canceling.